Hello, everybody. We're going to kick off now. So welcome to the third instalment of Lodgecast. As usual, we're planning for about an hour. And we are super excited to have the Chief Operating Officer at Reserve, Gabo, also known as Gabriel Jimenez. He's with us today, and we're going to get more into the RPay side of Reserve. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Malo, a lodge admin and a weekly blogger. And with me today is Alex.
Hey, everyone.
And Braden.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hi there, Gabo. We're super excited to have you on. I wonder if you could just start off by very briefly giving yourself an introduction so that people can know a little bit more about you.
All right. Thanks. First, thanks for the invitation. And I'm Gabriel. I've been focused on the app side of the project, particularly obsessed about access to stable currency to people that doesn't have it. Access to a stable currency. It sounds like basically, theoretically, you can achieve it, but what I say the difference between the theory and the science theory that yes, blockchain can be accessed anywhere to actually Pedro from the corner that sells the repas and Luisa, the corner lady that sells bananas, being able to access and being able to deal with it without worrying about the technology. That is what I call true access, and that is what we've been so obsessed about, and what we focus on the RPay side. Particularly myself, I've been focused on trying to change the economy in my country. There was a huge inflation for over 15 years that then evolved into a hyperinflation in Venezuela. I saw cryptocurrencies as a potential solution for people to do payments, for people to save their value of their work, and promoted a project in order to legalize all cryptocurrencies back there in Venezuela. The project is El Petro. The project was took out of my hands later on, but the policies were passed. I was charged by treason and had to escape the country in 2019 after losing everything. So here in the US, I met with Nevin in a conference that we met each other. And when he explained to me what he was trying to achieve and actually what he was trying to develop was a project that was a decentralized stable currency, but not focused on on the DeFi, not focused on the speculative market, but to serve the purpose that changes a paradigm that creates a better world, basically to be used by the people, by regular people, by the regular economy. I immediately got drawn to the project because that's precisely what I was envisioning that cryptocurrencies could do, and particularly in my country. So I could see how it could work, and we started to work together in that moment of time. Initially, particularly drawn to, hey, the place in the world where a technology like this is needed. Right now, where a solution like this is needed right now is Venezuela, and I know the market. I know what people is looking for, and we need to, if we truly are looking to make it a currency for the people, we need to go to the places in the world where it's needed the most, and we need to start in Venezuela. So that is how we basically started working together, and how I started focusing first on the RPay side, on the app side, how we call it nowadays.
That's great, man. Honestly, it's so interesting to hear from you. Like in the research community, we don't get a chance to hear from you very often, so it's good to have you here. Malo, I handed you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much for that, Gabo. That's really cool because that's touched on the first question that we've got for you. We've been hearing lately about the mechanics of the RToken side of the protocol, but we're really keen to know more about the RPay side. So could you tell us a bit more detail about that and also the Hola Reserve vision?
Yes, particularly, I think that I summarize the vision on the RPay side on access. But like I was mentioning before, not a theoretical access, but access to the regular people, to the people that is transacting. And when I talk about that, we on the crypto industry we hear a lot about banking, the bank or the serving under bank or financial inclusion and all of those theoretical potential applications that cryptocurrency has. But when you ask those projects, the big majority of those projects, even on the case of Venezuela, they don't go and they don't offer their services there. So there is a lot of hypocrisy basically on the industry to what they are saying that they're doing to what they're actually applying it for. And the reality is that the big majority currently just of the industry just go after the big gambling and the big casino that there is out there to make tons of money. But the biggest application that is basically that you have a new asset class that is uncensorable and that is accessible anywhere is not truly being developed by the players of the industry and applied by the players in the industries where it's actually needed. So in that front is where we focus on the on app side. We need to make it accessible, but we're not talking about accessible to crypto people, to tech savviness people, but we need to make it in such a way that it becomes seamless for any person to basically use a currency and accept the currency at the same time. Because it's not that okay, you can potentially access it or you can easily accessible. It has to be also accepted and understood in a way that is accepted in order to be truly money. What do you achieve by granting that access? What is the potential that this have? Well, if you provide true access to a stable currency for humanity, and that also enables true access to financial services to humanity. And that access to financial services to the people around the world also brings new opportunity, a new opportunity to grow, to prosper, but all of that start with the cornerstone that is access to the stablecoin. But it's an access that enables opportunity. That is something that, as we know in the world, it is not achieved, and the differences of locations between where humans are located basically create different levels of opportunities to what you can actually do with your money, what kind of credit you can access, if you need to worry about the value of your currency, or you can plan your future, or you can. So basically, that can be reverted. Theoretically speaking, that can be reverted nowadays. There is sufficient development already, not only on the crypto industry, because the crypto is just a tool, but overall the different tools that are available for the builders, for the people that says, hey, this system is not fair, it's creating more inequality in the world. There could be a better system that can close that gap of inequality, that can leverage on all of these inventions, and definitely it will be a better world. So that is precisely what we focus to do. Enable enabling first access and then leveraging and trying to offer more services that bring opportunity to people around the world. So that is basically the big vision of what we're trying to achieve. Using, of course, crypto, using the stablecoin, using RSB as a tool to enable all of this. It's because and one important aspect of this is that we do it in such a way that are two sides of the same coin. In one area, you have the politically neutral back and insurance stablecoin that can be developed across the reserve platform. But on the other area, you have the accessibility to make it usable and to make it to bring the opportunities to the people, because at the end what people want is opportunity to the people to thrive and progress with it. So that is kind of like the difference that that separate us from many other projects that haven't more separated or focusing in a different target of people, and because the whys are and the reasons are basically in a different direction to what we're doing.
That's brilliant. So, yeah, effectively allowing anyone who wants to store value. So, be it their work or how they're trading, they can store value within the app, which in turn, once they've stored enough of their value, they can leverage that value in real life so that they can plan for the future. Whereas now it's day to day, it's completely day to day. And there are millions, nearly probably billions of people in the world who cannot plan and don't have access to financial services and therefore can't store their work and sell it into the future. So, yeah, thanks very much for that. That's a brilliant answer. I'm just going to hand you over to Alex, who's going to ask you our second question.
Yeah, Gabo, it's great to have you here. Honestly,
Thanks.
like I said before, we don't hear much from you on the reserve crypto community. So I want to know you more. I want to get to know you more. So my question is, what does a day in the life of Gabo at Reserve looks like? What do you do a typical day in Reserve?
Well, kind of like one of the reasons I'm usually away from a lot of communications to the external community is because I particularly specialize in coordinating and building with different group of people. So basically, every hour I start my day every day at 6 a.m. And since 6 a.m. I start having meetings, and every hour and a half or so I'm having a different meeting from a different team. It is important to remind that we are going and advancing in different markets that we are. We are enabling not only the access, but also we want to enable more financial services and more financial opportunities to the people. So there is an ongoing context switching every hour and a half that is happening to try to help the understanding of what is the different challenges and what we can leverage from the different areas of the organization to achieve the mission. And at the same time, we're working on emerging markets, but also politically unstable markets that brings we are the way that we design our methodology of work. If you go to the website and you see the guilds, squads, and tribes, you see that people is across different squads, and we create new squads and eliminate them in a very dynamic way. It is because the market conditions and the economic conditions are ongoingly shifting. that creates a need for the project to also be adaptive at core and create systems at core that can adapt to the different realities and to the different markets. That is kind of like the biggest challenge that we have. That of course we iterate over it, and as we iterate, we improve in our process in order to do it. So basically, I start meeting with product team, engineering teams, marketing teams, legal teams, and the operations teams, the different teams that we are selling, and we accommodate. We have different scheduled meetings already along the week. One strategy that I use on Fridays, it is also on the website as well to describe, is that I met with all every squad leader of the project on a Friday session, that I group them together with their respective area, and then we discuss with a video of the week basically the strategies that they're applying, so we can align on a strategy that we are executing potentially in Argentina with something that we are doing for Mexico, with something that we are envisioning to the US, because again, there are natural challenges to do something this ambitious that is also built in a fully remote way, because we are also completely fully remote. I'm here in San Francisco, but the team is all spread across the US, Latin America, Europe. There's people even in Asia on the RPay team that we need to ongoingly be coordinated in order to keep advancing and keep progressing on these different markets. And when I'm talking about the different markets, is because you guys know that we are available in certain markets right now, but our mission doesn't stop there. We need, and we are going to expand across different markets, first of the region, and later on in a later stage of the project of the world. But to coordinate how to do that, how to effectively do that, how to legally effectively do that, the understanding of the different variables that needs to apply, and the opportunities that with crypto emerge, because that is one of the things. It's like crypto, it is regulated in a new way in many countries, not only in the US, in many countries, and many times that is also an important opportunity to take advantage and launch quickly in those markets, whereas in others it makes it more complicated. So there is not like an universal classic fintech playbook that we are following. We are creating basically our own playbook here, and we are progressing and adapting basically to execute it in an ongoing basis, and that is something that defines the basically my day and the RPay side of the team.
That's amazing, honestly. It must be so hard to coordinate people from all over the world. Like you said, Asia, Europe, Australia. It must be so hard. Look, there's something you said that actually piqued my interest. You said that you're trying to expand in markets that are not only economically unstable, but politically unstable as well. What do you think? What do you think is the biggest challenge in those countries, in those politically unstable countries, to expand on?
I mean, we are trying to expand to where there are differences between the developed world kind of access and opportunity that people have with their money, and the emerging markets basically where they don't have this the same level of access. There is of course like a lead indicator that politically unstable and are usually as well economically unstable, and these are the areas where there is a strongest case for this. But for example, in the case of Mexico, that is, we can talk about Mexico that is a politically stable market. We can talk about Mexico that is an economically stable market. But when we take a deeper look at what's going on in Mexico, 60+% of the population is not bankrupt. That means that many financial services for the people that don't have a bank account are limited, and they are not having the same opportunity as someone that would. They don't have access to credit, to planning, to the way that they store their money many times is with dollars under their mattress. So when you realize that those things are happening, you realize, okay, there is potential to make it accessible for them as well, because they have been excluded. They haven't been integrated, because most of those people actually have internet and have a smartphone, but they don't have access to a bank account and to the classic financial services. So the challenges are specific to each country, related to how is the go-to-market on a specific country. But the emerging market scenario, I think one of the things that characterize them is that it's not straightforward. It's not, everything is not by law. Everything is not defined already as it would be in a developed market. So you have to deal with a lot of uncertainty and with a lot of local knowledge in order to actually get to the local market in an efficient way. Again, the key is being able to adapt and being flexible on the conditions of how the market is gonna behave.
That was such a great answer, man. Honestly, just so crazy to me that Mexicans, just like you said, they store their cash under their mattress. Like almost all of them have a smartphone, they have internet connection, but they aren't connected to the banking system. That's crazy, and I think Reserve is actually doing a great job trying to penetrate, because you just can't launch the app and just let it be. You have to actually, be efficient with it. You have to actually get people to use it, to accept it. And I think that's something Reserve is actually doing very well. So I'm gonna hand you to Braden right now. Thanks for having me here.
Appreciate it.
Hey, we really do appreciate you joining us, Gabo. So I'm going to jump to kind of like the social side of Reserve. And so we've seen a few different initiatives across Twitter and Discord, put on by Reserve. Recently, we're seeing a new one called RClub. And so that's like only in the last few weeks. What can you tell us more about RClub and what Reserve, their intentions are for it?
Yeah. It's a community initiative, and let me explain a little bit about our community-centric approach strategy overall on the different markets. If you look at our org chart, you will see that there is not a marketing department or a communications department. What we have instead is community. It's our community guild, and that reflects the belief that we have, that in order for money to be used across multiple people, it needs to be used. You need to leverage on community, because people trust other peers. People want trust. Hey, buy me this, or use me. I'm just better money. People trust others that they know. So we, instead of communicating how good of an stable currency we are, instead of communicating this is better money, we actually focus on creating new communities, and that is how we start creating those small network effects that create a snowball that keeps growing over time. So all of our strategies relies on communities, and also you have to understand the cultural strength of communities in Latin America. Latin America is a society that is very focused on creating different communities as well, and particularly when societies are in crisis, people leverage in community to solve basically many of their basic needs. People like, to put an example, in the case of Venezuela, when I went back in 2015 and I got sick, I didn't have, and like ibuprofen was scarce, it couldn't be found. And the only way to find ibuprofen, because I was feeling really bad, was to write on the WhatsApp group of my mom's apartment building. And then, two ladies came with, some ibuprofen to give it to me. But the context of the communities is precisely what we try to focus on. So we are how you create communities. It's an ongoing iteration process. We, as you guys have seen, one of our strengths is actually on the social media, but on the way that we deal with the social media, it's not like a traditional fintech or we are actually, for example, in TikTok, dancing on TikTok. The way that we define it is that we want to be the best friend that you want to take a beer with on or digital identity. Why is that? Because you are going to feel more empathetic to that person, and whenever that there is kind of like an opportunity that best friend is telling you that opportunity may not be precisely to earn tons of money, but it's just because of the empathy that I have, you will be more willing to participate. So as we ongoingly try different tactics and different strategies to keep creating community, we created a new one that is named the RClub. This RClub, it is a funny story. Basically, we initially wanted to build kind of like a DAO initially, and the way that we engaged very much the process internally was like, let's not call it a DAO, because we actually need to learn and more about the different trade-off and the different tactics. Let's not actually box it into what it is. Until actually there is more development and we can see how it is being adopted. And like, for example, a DAO for all of us that we are listening here means something, but honestly, for the people that of Venezuela overall, or for the majority of the people, not only for the people of Venezuela, for the majority of the people, a DAO is basically meaningless. What they are looking for is basically for an experience. They're looking for opportunities to earn money. They're looking for opportunities to connect with other people, to have friends, to have beer with. And we basically were learning publicly on this process. We actually started this process in late December, but we started to discuss about what was in our minds, what was the process publicly in January. And we ended up creating this RClub that is basically a membership program created or not created, developed by their own members. And what I mean by membership program is very much like an Amex membership program, or like the different payment cards that they have a membership program. So we very much created the equivalent to that using Web3 tactics and using Web3 tools that allow broader participation of the people, allow broader collaboration of the people, and that is evolving over time as we create and expand our adoption and provide more services and tools that then people will find this club where they can do different things. Things that people leverage on the club, for example, as of right now. There are more things that are gonna be able to do in the future, but the things that people is doing. Examples of examples of committees that the clubs have. So, for example, they are preparing a Rangers Day. So different members of the RPay community from different countries are going to meet up one day of the month, and I'm used to have beers or to have pizza to share with other members of the community. And you may ask why that will happen. Well, everybody, people wants to have friends, so and this is completely organic. This is completely organic how we have created this section. We of course help coordinate. Okay, we need somebody from the city, and people just came internally from the community, and they're organizing this Ranger Day for that is going to happen in May. That is one example of that is more. Where we also have one related to recruiting. For example, we had a committee that is on recruiting where members of the community and members from reserve that are part of the membership program, they just come together, they get classes, master classes related to recruiting, and then they can send us leads and sources through a pipeline that we design, so we can hire more people and we can leverage on people's sourcing. Because why are they sourcing? Well, the people that they're sourced are gonna make a better, are gonna help us to make a better product and bring more services. But at the same time, if the source that they bring are going to is higher, this person may also have another extra income. So, and they are learning at the same time, they're getting classes on this process. So they are improving themselves, and they can probably go work as a recruiter somewhere else. There are other examples. We have the Crypto Club as well. That is team members that are crypto savvy, teaching and doing kind of like personalized or cohort based small courses for people that wants to learn about crypto. But in order to access all of this, they need to be members of Reserve. They need to be users of Reserve in order to have access to all of the different tools that the clubs offer, and that is expanding by initiative of the community. That this initiative from the community may usually come from, hey, we have an open call, we want to do an open call, kind of like a grant. We want to do something in particular. We say what we want to do. We say how much we want to. We are willing to pay basically for that for a group that wants to develop it, and then they do it. So it has been very successful and very engaging. We have run it basically in pilots in a small cohort. But on what we measure success on this initiative is basically with the quality on the engagement and the quality of the community by community participating, integrating, leading projects, and that has been really positive. And on the Discord side and on these areas, we haven't yet massively or like share it for people to openly join. We have about I think it's about 5,000 people on the community from the Discord, plus another few hundreds on Twitter, another few hundreds that we have in a different way in WhatsApp. But this is an evolving project that is going to be even more representative as we are integrating new functionality into the app. That is what we are going to focus in this new stage, and we expand on different markets, and we start accepting more members into the RClub because people want to participate. People, I don't know if you guys see it on Twitter, but people say, "Hey, no, I want to," but we are just like we did on the app. Perfectioning the experience, focusing on the experience before allowing more and more people to actually join. It's progressive as we are progressing on the product side as well.
That's a very interesting response. As an American or from the U.S., I almost can't help but get excited for these people. I think it's important, as you think it is too, to have access to both this stable currency and also the platform for the community too. It's good. I do have one other kind of big question. So how do you think banks and governments feel about RTokens? And also, what do you think? Do you think they might want to break free from like USD fiscal control? What do you think about that?
Governments are run by people that wanted to be in power and that are in power. And that means people that wants to be in control. And that when they feel challenged, when they feel threatened, basically it is you won't receive the best feedback or support from a government regulator perspective. So in order to avoid that, and because it is important to understand, we just cannot have a fight, a full fight against the governments and the institutions of the world. If we try to fight it, and if we create a conflict basically on that, who ended up losing is the opportunity for this industry and for us to be more developed, and for the people at the end of the day to actually get something, to have this opportunity, to regain this opportunity that they haven't had. So it is important to focus on the final outcome, and then think strategically then, how do we present it basically to governments of the world, basically how this is a tool that is not a tool to fight against the government, but this is a tool that can actually make people's life better. And then when you think about that, that is the alignment that you have with the governments of the world. Because if you're a government, you want, supposedly you want your citizens to live a better life. You want your citizens to be good, to live a dignified life. You don't want the opposite. You just want that. So you have to present the tools to regulators and to governments as a tool for helping people. This is a tool to help people. This is RTokens are a tool for something that is good for everybody, even for the government in that sense. And when you try to actually focus on the what you have in common more than the area of the controlling part that the governments are going to be always concerned because again they're run by humans at the end of the day. You have more opportunities there to present an array. So just to point out an example, and talking about governments in a very abstract way, but also a strategic way of how the political world actually works, and also on emerging markets. Like on the case of Venezuela. On the case of Venezuela, we don't talk at all with any government regulator entity. And for even though we don't talk with any government regulator entity, we are in a position that our position is not to be a political opposition to the government. We are going to Venezuela, not saying to the Venezuelan community and to the Venezuelan people, hey, look, everything is fault of the government. This is a better money than it. No, we are talking about, hey, you know, with this tool, you can actually overcome this phenomenon that is inflation, and then you can live a better life. It doesn't matter who was the problem with, but you focus on helping. You focus on this will help you. And at the end of the day, the governments will be it is very hard for governments then to say, hey, no, you're doing something really bad, really, really wrong. Hey, no, what is wrong? I'm actually, helping people. You want people to live a better life. You want people to actually overcome inflation. I'm actually, trying to do that as well. It doesn't have to be you. I actually build something in order to be you. And just the same applies to RTokens on the RToken side, because there could be many technicalities, there could be many regulations emerging, but at the end of the day, it's humans the ones that are running the governments, and not only humans. They actually want their people to to do good, to live a dignified life. And they're not technical people. They don't understand about the backing, the asset, the platform. They don't understand about all of that. If you are helping people out, if you are helping people to live a better life, you have more in common than with the government, and then you can collaborate with them in such a different way. But you have to be strategic on how you present it and how you deal with them as well.
Well, yeah, I think that's really good. A good indication of a good way that you guys are thinking about the project. So, thank you. I'm going to pass it off to Malo, and thank you for your time, Gabo.
No worries.
Okay, cool. You mentioned before, Gabo, about having to adapt the strategy of the app around the core functions based on how you wanted to help other countries. So I was going to ask you about how that's worked with Mexico, because you mentioned that 60% of Mexicans are unbanked, and of course the chicken and egg scenario with them trying to create an account in the app, for example. If you're Venezuelan, you give them your bank details, but if you don't have a bank, then obviously that points to a different strategy. So I was wondering if you could tell us anything more about how you're handling the hard landing in Mexico.
Yes. Related to, as you have seen, we initially focused on Venezuela. And Venezuela was in a hyperinflationary state the biggest of the world in that sense. And or as we created a tool that was specialized on dealing with a hyperinflationary economy, users rush into the app, and that forced us in that moment of time to basically, instead of adding new utility, actually build into a scale, because it is very different to have 100,000 users to 1,000 users to 500,000 users, completely different. And to have that growth basically in a year, you very much focus on your building in scaling that piece that you are doing it in such a difficult conditions like the Venezuelan conditions are, because there is not that an open banking or APIs or systems that we created. We had to create the networks to basically this to operate properly. So, but again, this was related to a hyperinflationary economy. There are people that has been left out of the financial system, that has been excluded from the financial system. Just like on the case of the Venezuelan, it was because of hyperinflation and the location where they were living. There is people that, because they don't have a bank account, and that is also part of the problem that increases the gap of inequality across the different regions. So as we go into Mexico, one of the reasons that we call it hard landing, and just to point out a difference for the community that don't understand or don't know about our internal strategies, there is two ways that we land into a market. There is one way that we land into a market, like that is very similar to Venezuela, but is what, for example, how we launched it in Peru as well, or how we launched it originally in Colombia. That way is what is known as the ILPs inside of the app. That is the independent liquidity provider. This works very, very similarly to how local Bitcoin or Binance peer-to-peer basically works out, but we optimize it and we refine it for the experience to don't be as fragmented basically as it is, and to make it seem more like a regular fintech app that people are more used to and have that experience. But that ILP methodology allow us to quickly launch, and it's legally feasible. This is one of the opportunities that crypto allows. It's legally feasible on this different markets, because people is buying from a third party a digital asset, and that is how they are changing. That is a stablecoin, and that is how they're changing money. However, there is another kind of strategy that we have applied in Colombia. In Colombia, we are about to launch potentially this next week a new version basically of the app, where we are connected through the APIs to the banking network, and people is going to be able to load and to deposit and withdraw directly from their banks and in Colombia in a more straightforward way directly, and that requires a process of local adaptation and local licensing in order to connect to the banking system and have the experience seamless of, okay, if I have a better money on my app, but it is very difficult to put it in and out, you basically, that money it is gonna be barely used. So if you make it as easy as possible, then you have a different kind of a situation. So the hard landings, we call it hard landings when we connect to an API system or to a banking network system that allow us to have that automation feeling. For those of you in the US, it is kind of like a Cash App or Venmo experience to the automation, basically how it works. In the case of Mexico, that is what we're doing. We're doing that hard landing, but we are also enabling the ILP model as well, because the ILP model allows you more flexibility, because the people that even don't have a bank account can access on a way that is because they're buying and selling their digital assets to a third party that is an independent liquidity provider. So in Mexico, we're doing both, and we're adding and we are also adding cash in the case of Mexico. So, and that required a special licensing process, partnership. Like one of the key things, and because Mexico is such a big state, a big country, and one of the big things that we needed in order to accomplish this in Mexico is to be accessible basically everywhere in Mexico, and have a partner in Mexico that will be accessible everywhere. And that is one of the key things we initially focus on in order to properly launch in that specific country. However, the Mexico plan, let me be said, is going to be progressive, because there is not only about the accessing to this tool. There is one of the consequences of 60% of the population not being on a banking system or don't having a bank account is that not having any credit history. So that is another that is part of the considerations that were taken into consideration. That actually goes back to one of the new features that we are looking to develop. That is the card functionality. That is going to be a cornerstone of the infrastructure to this problem of undercredited. But undercredited because no credit history is recorded from those person. So we're looking to aim to bring the solutions to them, to have more tools available, and that creates more opportunity for, and that allows them, because they want to keep saving in dollars, allows them to keep saving in dollars, but potentially spending on local currencies, but and have their and have more control on what they're doing.
Fascinating, and I think we can call that a small leak, the functionality for Colombia there. So that's fantastic. Thanks very much, Gabo. I'm just going to pass you over to Alex for our last question. So up you go, Alex.
Yeah, Gabo, it's amazing all the things we're getting to hear. I'm very excited about this new integration with the banking system. I think that's something we should touch on another edition of the Lodgecast. But for now, I'm gonna ask you the last question. In regards to the interest Reserve has to make a debit card, what progress has been done on that?
I'm really excited about that. There is going to be like one of the key aspects when you want to do something really novel, really challenging, something that hasn't been done before, but that has a particular area of expertise. You need to find the best person basically in the world to try to make it happen, to make it a reality. If you don't bring first the right person in the world to, okay, how do we offer this product that is crypto backed, that allows them to have credit history, that has a credit line on their local currencies, or all of those different desires that you want to package together, that that it could be game changing on basically on their life. How do you bring how do you make that desire happen? It starts by having the right people on board. So initially what since we were like mentioning, focusing on the scaling on the app and so on, we put the car project aside, because our early engagements basically with this idea and regarding with different partnerships didn't go well initially, and particularly because we were initially fully focusing first in Venezuela, and that was making harder potentially those partnerships to be possible. Later last year, as we started to prepare this new utility and started to invest in the research on the new utility, one of the areas we went back was like the car. Okay, we want the car to be an anchor that attracts people to the platform, but at the same time enables them to have more products and more services that can change their life. So we started to work again into this project, and we realized that it was feasible. That we got the different partnerships that we needed. We got to a level, okay, it is feasible to execute it, but in order to build a world-class product, a product that can compete with Revolut, a product that can compete with Crypto.com on the card aspect, because of the different functionalities, because of the cashback, because of the infrastructure needed. In order to nail this right, we need to bring the right talent and the right team in order to make that happen internally, completely into that. So we then focus on that, and we recently closed, and we will announce it soon. A very interesting team member that is going to be the leader on all of this area with decades of experience on this aspect. That is going to be the spearhead that is going to materialize this anchor product for what is going to be on the app side, and this is a product that is going to be anchored not only also in Latin America, including cashback and so on, as many crypto people is, but it has this credit line like that, but it also will be attractive in the US. As we are looking also to in the near future, and we're in the process of working on the licenses in order to do so, to expand into the US and initially target Hispanic communities, as they may be, as this car product could be something that they could be credit history, and at the same time it's an anchor for them to send remittances back home using the other functionalities that it has on the app. So there is really exciting. I don't want to commit on all the details of how the product is going to work, because again, they are basically on the board. They are feasible. We have closed a partnership. We closed this, the most important part that was the leader of all of this area, and you guys will be very excited when this person joins the team, as you will see why that person was the right person for it. But we are looking to bring that product this year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're really excited to find out about that as well. So we'll be keeping our eyes out for any information about that, because it's super exciting for us. And thanks very much for telling us as much as you did. I understand that you've got to keep certain aspects of it quiet. So we've done pretty well for time there. We've done an hour, which is what we intended to do. So it just leaves it for me to wrap up here. Thank you, Gabo, so very much for your time. I know you're an incredibly busy person. Thanks very much for the full answers and the insights that you've given us. And we would love to have you back on maybe later on this year, and maybe after the card's launched. Who knows?
Sure. Later this year. This year is gonna be exciting. The second half of this year is gonna be really exciting for everybody.
Fantastic.
But a lot of building that is going to happen.
Gabo, I
Okay.
have one last question for you. Just
Yep.
you got me very excited with this person, new person in the team. Is that person Levina?
I mean, I don't know.
Could be.
It's top secret. It's just top
It's
secret.
still a mystery. Okay,
Yeah,
Gabo, thank you for being here, honestly.
All right.
Thank you very much.
everybody.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for turning up and listening in. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, see you at the next one.
Thank you,
So,
Gabo.
guys.
Later,
Goodbye,
guys.
everyone.